All right, my friends, we're going to get right to it. We've been talking about giants for many years now. They are now starting to take consideration of this. Now listen to what they have to say. This is Universe Inside You. Fabulous presentation. They got 1.8 million subscribers. Now I left a comment up here because I came right up here when there was just no comments at all hardly. And if you could come up here and leave a comment saying please, because I want to interact with these people. Universe Inside You, absolutely fabulous presentation. But I want you to hear what they have to say because this is Fair Use Act. We're trying to get people educated and make a presentation about what we can present as evidence. Now listen to what they have to say here. And again, absolutely phenomenally done. Here goes.
Or Patagonia were unlike anything the Europeans had encountered before. The crew observed their physical characteristics, behaviors, and way of life, noting their extraordinary height and strength. This is perhaps one of the most incredible encounters in the age of exploration. Yet to this day, no one talks about this, and no one takes this historical account seriously. Let's consider the role of a chronicler and the credibility of his accounts during the
Let me tell you something. It was credible, and my stuff is credible as well, and nobody talks about it because they are afraid to speak about it. It makes you look like you're crazy, and that's why people just don't want to talk about it because it's just over the top, and other people will treat you as you're crazy. Trust me, I know this. All right, you should come up and watch this because it is excellent. But here's the deal. Magellan, in the age of exploration, which was about, I figure 1500-ish, right in that area, maybe 1450, and then up for a couple hundred years. And these are when all the giant ships are getting attacked by sea monsters, and they recorded all that too. These guys weren't just writing fairy tales. Now listen to this. This was in 1519 to 1520. Magellan heads off to find a better trade route. I think it was the Spice Islands. And he was left with 5 ships, 250 men. And they were documenting their exploration. I mean, that's what they did. They documented where they went and how they got there and what kind of things they encountered and what was different and what was the same. And so here they put in for the winter. And they put in a port somewhere down in way down South America. And they're in there for, I guess, a couple months. They're just trying to weather the winter there. And then all of a sudden, out on the coast, they see this guy dancing. And apparently he was completely naked. And he was dancing and singing and just jumping up and down and putting sand in his head and his hair and everything. And he's just acting very crazy, a wild man. And so they saw him and they were astonished because he was just absolutely gigantic. So they went out to see about him. And they started jumping up and down and dancing and all these things to act like he was. And he became like, wow, these people want to be friendly. So he did. He came about and he was friendly. He pointed up into the heavens. Is that where you guys came from? And of course, he couldn't speak to him. But and then they became friends. They helped him, and then the Spanish guys had them hunting for them and all kinds of stuff. They were excellent hunters and so forth. So anyway, these were giants. And then they tried to chain them up and take them back to Spain, and they went crazy, and they had all kind of wars and all kind of violence erupted. Okay, my friends, this is the conclusion of this, the Universe Inside You. It's the Patagonian giants, exceptionally well done, and listen to what they have to say in conclusion. And they ask a question, and this is my response, okay? So here's what they say.
The chronicles of encounters with giants during the age of exploration, while certainly extraordinary, are grounded in enough consistency and detail to warrant consideration. They open up fascinating possibilities about the diversity of human populations in the past, and challenge us to keep an open mind about the mysteries that history may yet hold. What are your thoughts on the theory that in the remote and ancient past, the earth was inhabited by giants of immense stature? We'd love to hear your perspectives and stories in the comment section.
Okay, I did leave a comment, and I do have documented evidence to show this is a fingertip from a giant. I have the hand, I have knuckles, and I have bones from it, and this is the fingertip. That's a fingertip from a giant. The hand is approximately 4 feet wide, and this has been CAT scanned and DNA tested, and it is human. Now this stuff is all on the top of the face of the earth, so it hasn't been there for millions and billions of years as they talk about. And they are talking about things from 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800. They still had giants. Now, what happened to them? I don't know. Are they still around? I don't know. But I'm going to show you a bunch of evidence that shows that they certainly, absolutely, 100% were here, and they were of the proportions that Enoch talked about. And that's why they took all of that stuff out of the ancient text, because anybody that would consider giants of the size that I'm showing here, not to mention the other one I have another one that has a 3 foot long fingertip, 3 feet long, DNA tested. It still has the fingerprints and the fingernail on it, and the grip skin came right off. And I'll show you that too. And that was DNA tested. It's just like this one. And I have a long, which is a smaller one. It is the same size as a human. That was DNA tested as well. And anatomically, there's just no doubt about it. And the DNA was deep, dense, and I extracted it myself from deep inside of arteries. I know where the arteries are. They're the same place they are in everybody else. If you go in deep enough, you get rid of any of the surface stuff. And of course, you got to be careful when you do this. And you just all that precautions. And you get inside here, you drill out some of this red, powdery blood, which is now more or less dried, but it's still powdery and red. And then I sent it off, and they tested. They said it was dense and excellent quality. It's right in the report. And there was 3 tests done, and one of them was this one of them was a much bigger fingertip, and one of them was the lung. So I want to speak with these people. They're just doing a fabulous job, and it appears that they are really interested in understanding what our real true past was. This was so nicely done. I'm very, very, I can't say enough compliments about how nicely they did this, and they did it in a nice, easy to understand, not aggressive. Sometimes I can be a little aggressive, and I don't mean to be, but it's been many years of having this evidence with DNA and CAT scans and specimens, and presented to all the top universities. And this is the problem. And so the comments are going to be that we need to just have this open to enough people. They have over 1 million people on there, way over 1 million. So we need to get it out to people. My channel is totally suppressed, just as Velikovsky was, because he was talking about things nobody wanted to hear about. And it just as these ancient stuff is, once everybody was all excited about it, they just said, no, this is just too much. Let's just not talk about it anymore. And that's basically what happened. And if you talk about this in schools or anything like that, they'll fail you. They will actually literally fail you for believing in these things and God and all that stuff. And I can't see any reason anymore not to believe in God and Jesus Christ, and all of the things that were written have to at least be looked into. Then you make your own decision. But when you accept what the doctrine has been, then you are lost. I'm going to tell you that right now. You are as lost as you can be. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's not one single culture on the face of this planet that didn't speak about giants. They spoke about dragons. They spoke about an eternity and an afterlife and a heaven and a hell and good and bad and all of that stuff. And none of that is in academia. They are the only culture, and that is a culture. It's a worldwide culture of people that are arrogant and believe that they have all. If you don't say what they tell you to say, then they will make your life a living hell, a misery. And that's also written in the ancient texts about the false teachers. Their destruction does not sleep. It's exactly what it says. The false teachers, their destruction does not sleep. There will be false teachers among you, and their destruction does not sleep. It's exactly what it says. And they are. As far as I haven't found one academic that is not going to have their destruction. I can't see them getting out of this one unless they turn around real quick. Because I guess you can be forgiven, but, you know, you have to turn around and then you have to show others that you understand, or you won't be forgiven. That's what it says in the ancient text. I'm taking all this stuff, ancient stuff now, as pretty much, I look into it for sure. And all the mythology, it's just there. I showed this stuff over and over and over, and it's very, you know, it's tiring. I got to be honest with you, but sooner or later, somebody big is going to pick up on this, and it will just be shown. These guys are fabulous. I'm absolutely amazed at how nice of a job they did. But anyway, I'll probably continue on, but I'm not sure. And if I don't, I love you. If I do, stick around. Okay, my friends, watch this. They're asking for questions. They want answers and comments and so forth, which I did leave one. And I have specimens here that are of enormous proportions. That's a fingertip. That is a hair follicle with the erector pili muscle, the sebaceous gland, the root ball. I show this all the time. It's very simple to show. It's at least 200 to 300 times bigger than yours. So that's a very, very huge creature. Whatever it was, it could have been anything, but it's certainly they're not that size now. Now, they are saying that this warrants consideration. This is not just a joke. These people weren't writing about these stories just to scare little kids or something. And they were, every one of them had the same story, basically. They all were coming into sea monsters. They were seeing giants, all of that stuff. Now, I don't know, you know, it wasn't silly, it wasn't a joke, it was real. So here goes. By the way, look at that. I just noticed that. It's the same bone. That's it. All right, so here goes.
Warrant consideration. They open up fascinating possibilities about the diversity of human populations in the past and challenge us to keep an open mind about the mysteries that history may yet hold. What are your thoughts on the theory that in the remote and ancient past the earth was inhabited by giants of immense stature? We'd love to hear your perspectives and stories in the comments section. If you found this video thought-provoking, don't forget to leave it a like. Also, consider subscribing to our channel for more intriguing content like this.
Absolutely. Of course I have, and naturally I left a like, and it's encouraging to see that there's somebody that has this many subscribers, 1.8 million subscribers, and looking for truth. And I did comment. I left it here. Can we talk, my friend? I have DNA certified giant human remains. That's DNA certified. And my bigger ones are too. And CAT scans and all this stuff. So I'm hoping that I will get a response from them. And maybe you can come up here. Of course, you should come up and watch this. It's just fabulous. And maybe you could just kick me around a little bit over there, and maybe they'll pay attention to some of my stuff. Because I have the evidence. Here's the key. I have the actual physical evidence and the DNA reports and the CAT scans and all of that stuff to support the things I'm saying. Not a single word have I said that I can't support with material facts. And these things, that's what these guys were. Here's Typhon. See it? Look at that. There's another. This is another map that shows Typhon. He was on all the ancient maps. In the age of exploration, they went all around the world, and they were running into the sea creatures that were the parasites from these gigantic monsters. They had parasites that were as big as buses, bigger than that. And they left their bodies and went into the oceans or wherever, and were attacking ships. So, you know, I've got so much on this, and I guess I'm just going to have to continue on showing it over and over and over again until somebody picks up on it. I'm hoping these guys will pay attention. They're asking for somebody with comments. I left it, so I'm hoping to hear back from them. All right, and maybe you can leave something there. Okay, so here is my proof of my claims. This right here is a hair follicle. Okay, that is an erector pili muscle, Muscles attach one here and one here, and they pinch in like that, which makes your hair go up and down, so your hair can stand on end. And that's where it attaches, right to this surface. And that's how it attaches right there, with the central core and the surrounding muscle fibers, so that it can do this. Now, it also has an oiler. So your hair can come out of here and get oiled up as it comes out. And that's the sebaceous gland. And that right there is the sebaceous gland. Okay, see, it's identically the same. Now, you've got your pili muscle, you've got your sebaceous gland. That's the hair coming up straight up the shaft. This, as you can see, it goes down inside and connects to the root ball, and that two little dots right there are the vein and the artery. This is a lot bigger than yours or mine, I can tell you that. So we're talking at least a couple of 100 times larger than an average human being. Now, animals don't have them much bigger than us, I wouldn't assume. Maybe they're a little bigger, but not much. So you're talking an extremely large giant. Now, this is DNA tested. And it was also CAT scan. I'll show you in a second. I'll show you both of those things. And that is a fingertip. I have the hand from it, and I have the knuckles and a whole bunch of parts from this. Now, the other one I have is another giant. Let me show you these. All right, to start off with, let's just deal with this one. That's a fingertip. Now, here it is in the CAT scan. This right here is this right here. Now, this was done by Jesse Garant and Associates. They do 2D and 3D CAT scans. This is the 2D, where they really get detail of the surface features, and that's why you can see the fingernail bed. You don't see it here. You're never ever going to see that. It's just no possible way. And where do you see the other end of it? So don't forget, this is where the fingernail was. This little hook here is where the tendons locks in, so you can do this with your finger. Now, that's the top looking down at the fingernail bed. Now, from the back side, watch this. All right, check this out. This is the, oops. This is, boy, I'm telling you, everything's going crazy here. Hold on, take it easy. Slow down, Roger. Okay, I'm all right, I'm going to make it. This is the back end. Now, I broke this piece off so I could get down to where the bone is. And there's actually some bone still in there. I was surprised. I thought it would be 100% transitioned, which they normally do. But I think I can see bone. You see those little pocket-looking things? That's what bone is when it attaches to flesh. And this was the bit in the flesh part. It just broke right off. Now, you see this here? That's the piece I broke off. This is this piece right here. All right? And here's the bone. And this other thing is the other tendon. There's a tendon comes up here, and a tendon comes up here. Now look carefully. Just think about what you're looking at. Slow down. Slow down. Why is that one black and this one white? Explain that one to me. What, you see that little hole right there? You see that little hole right there? I can explain those too. So this is black because it is a different blood than this one. Now, I'm not sure which one is the vein and which one's the artery. Normally, the vein blood turns black. Now, this might be a reverse image so that they can get these features. I'm not sure. So this could be really the black one, and that could be the white one. I don't know. Or the red one. Because you have black and red. Black is the vein blood. So let's say this is the vein. It doesn't matter. One or the other. So the vein comes back to recharge the blood. The artery comes down with all the good stuff. And then it travels over across, and I will show you that too. Well, I might as well show you in a second. But these two are these two right here. Again, you would not see this. You wouldn't see that. I don't think you would. know, you just look at it, it looks like a piece of brown dirt. But when you see it with a 2D CAT scan, Jesse Garant and Associates, if you ever want anything CAT scanned, those are the people, the nicest people you ever want to meet. And this is the bone. Now, I know this is a left, I think it's a right thumb. It's one or the other because it's got this lump of extra meat on one side versus the bone. In a normal bone, in a normal finger, it's right in the middle. In a thumb, it's on, I think this was, I can't remember. It's one side or the other. You figure it out. But that's what this is, and that's a bone. That's the bone. It's right there. Now I got the microscope going. In a minute, we'll take a look at some of this here, and we'll take a look at some of the blood vessels, and I'll do a catalase test on this to show you how much enzymes there still is in here. Now, in order to get the blood out of here to go get it tested, you drill a hole in there, deep inside. You don't take it off the surface. Oh, you contaminated, you did this, you did that. Boy, did I tell you that I take some criticism, and they really destroyed everything. Nobody would look at the actual evidence. It was just all criticism. So anyway, that's all over. People are starting to wake up. I got bones coming out of my ears, and this one still has bone. You see that white spot? That's the last of the bone. Yale says, yes, all this stuff did happen, but they were before there was any bone or teeth or shells or anything. It was all soft body. That's because it was all nucleophilically substituted. This is invasion. So this was bone, but it's no longer bone, except that one little tiny piece. And this seems to have some bone in it too. Again, we'll look at this in a microscope, and then we'll do a catalase test on it. I might as well do a catalase test on this too, if you want to see what this does. I don't think I've ever done one on this. I got so much stuff. I've done tests on hundreds of things. And they all, if you find the artery, it's going to get bubbled up. And when you find membranes, they foam. They make a foamy look. And so we'll probably see some of that in the microscope in a little bit here. But anyway, this is all very legitimate. I have the DNA tests, I have the CAT scans, I have everything. You should see the CAT scans. The DNA tests, I'll show you in a second. The bigger one, well, this is a lung. This lung right here. I had this DNA test. Again, I drilled in here somewhere, just a pin drill. You take it out, and you got some red blood, you send it off. This is pleura. You see this rubbery stuff on here? And that right there, that's where the spur lock is. This is a little feature that locks lungs and every organ into the body. It's unknown to science at the moment. It will be very soon, because it's on every organ. And the fascia as well. I really pioneered a lot of this stuff because nobody's looking at fascia. As a matter of fact, I just got an article came up about. Hold on a second. It's unbelievable the way things work, because I've been posting about fascia. And yesterday I did one about how some of these sea creatures were living in the fascia of these giants. They were so big. This is crazy. Where do you see this? I can't believe it. It just struck me. Hold on. But anyway, before we see that, there's what a lung is. Look, stripped down. That one there is completely like perfect. This one is all stripped down to the alveoli. You see all the alveoli? Same stuff here. And this one had blood came out of it. This is what happened. The blood came out of this one. But wait do you see this? Hold on a second. This just came out today. This is just beyond belief. What we can now see it better now. One reason fascia has been overlooked in health and disease is because it was difficult to see. We got 6 feet thick layers of it. I can see every single detail using current imaging technology. More recently, though, MRI and ultrasound imaging have been shown to be beneficial in actually visualizing fascia. Wait do you see this? This is the thing. I discovered this in the Mudfossils. I couldn't account for it. I'm saying, what the hell is going on? And then Tyson found it over on the West Coast, over in Oregon, in such detail it can't be dismissed. Let me show you. They're talking about fascia. I was the first one to ask about fascia. Doctors, nobody even knew about it, basically. Jesse Garant, those are the people, my friends. Jesse Garant, they are the best of the best. All right, Jesse Graham. Contact us. We're here to help with immediate product quality. These guys are the best. The best of the best. All right, so let's go back to this. Jesse, I can never thank you enough, my friend. Same thing with Fabio. Now, I was talking to sports injury guys because I was saying, what do you know about this layer? See, they're saying a mysterious, neglected part of our body, vital to our health. Yeah, now they realize this just came out today, 29th of December. And then they're talking about how well, there's a lot of details to it, but anyway, it's a thin casing of connective tissue, mainly made of collagen. Now they say it's a rope-like structure. That's true, but not in the fascia. Collagen is an elastic fabric in the fascia. It's the rope-like collagen is in your tendons. So it provides strength and protection to many areas of the body. It surrounds and holds every organ. Yes, they realize this now. In 2018, they did a paper saying that it was a new organ found called the interstitium, which is this fascia, but it's a certain layer in the fascia, which is the fluid-filled highway. So it's hard to see fascia in the body, but you can get a sense of what it looks like if you look at meat, which I have a piece of meat around here somewhere. There's your fascia right there. That's your meat. It's the white tissue that surrounds and holds the meat. You see that? Anyway, I knew about this stuff, and I finally contacted a guy that was about 2010, somewhere around there, who was the only guy that was even talking about fascia. And he said they always called it fuzz. It has no purpose. I said, oh, it's got to do something. And so we started looking into it, and he came around and realized, and now he's into it big time, because now they're starting to understand. This is one of the most important parts of your whole body. It's the fascia. And the interstitium. The interstitium is where all of your fluids flow, that are where all your enzymes and stuff run around through your body to fight disease. You have to have that layer. That's your fluid-filled highway. And every layer, I mean every organ, is coated with this. They say, right, it surrounds every organ, blood vessel, bone, nerve, fiber, muscle. Every single thing that's separated from anything else has one of these membranes around it. They never even knew really hardly about them because they were just too small to see. But without having that membrane surrounding it and having it impenetrable, you hear me? Impenetrable. You can't get through it. The only thing that can get through is stuff that your body says, all right, you can come through or you can't come through. You want to see a membrane? I'm going to show you how they work, and then you can think about it. All right, so I showed you where the blood came in to the tips of the finger, the back of this finger here, one on each side. And that's exactly what you see up here. And then there's a ton of blood in fingertips. So you get a lot of blood out of fingers, and that's why they preserve so well. Fingertips preserve excellently because of blood. Blood is the preservative. Believe it or not, blood is what makes things preserve exceptionally well. Now, I showed you the fingertips, CAT scans and so forth. Here's the 3D. Again, Jesse Graham, fabulous. You don't get much in the 3D. You just can't get it because it's completely invaded. However, there is still a taste of bone in there, it appears. And so I broke this piece off. And I think I can see a little bit of bone in a transitioning mode. It's not completely bone and it's not completely stone. It's in the staboni area, I guess you'd call it. Staboni. Now, this was years ago. I had this done, I think it was 2015. Well, yeah, maybe it was 2015 or 2015. And I was on a different operating system. I use Linux now, so I really don't have access to a lot of the CAT scans they did, but they did 7 of them. And I think I have the file somewhere, but they were just fabulous. And really all you have to do is understand what you're looking at there. Now, we'll look at this. Now, this was again from this hand. Let me show you the hand in its entirety. I don't know if I showed you this yet. Where are you, hand? There you are, hand. Now, you see this right here? Lay your left hand backwards, just like this. You have that running right down your, right here. This is the cleave right between your two pads. This runs off to the little finger. You see that little, it almost looks like somebody puttied it in here. And that runs off to the little finger. Now this is, I think it's about 4 feet wide, somewhere around there. I really can't remember. This goes back years and years ago. Now this silver stuff is the grip skin. They call it friction skin, grip skin. It's the outside dense cornified layer, keratinized, heavy rubbery area. See it like that. It's peeling off. This underneath is a red fleshy stuff. It's red flesh in your hand. Now on top of it though, you got to do a lot of work. This is what does the work. And this group comes and goes. It's no problem. It's really almost inert. That's why it's a different color than this. And you have it all over your feet, your fingertips, your elbows, and so forth. So they call it cornified. It's dense. And here's what it looks like. And this is from my other fingertip. You see, the other fingertip has fingerprints still. You see that? Those are the sweat pores. My thumb is as wide as one fingerprint ridge. And this is what that grip skin looks like. And it peels right off just like that. Because this did too. I had to break this off to get down in to get blood. Alright, so this was, and I'll show you the finger in a second. This was right next to the fingernail. The fingernail is right up here. And this, it takes right over, right? Almost instantly you go into your fingerprints. And then when I whacked it with a hammer to try to split it open, it just popped right off, just like a scab or something. Just like this. It's just exactly like that. That's the thickness of this cornified area, the keratinized cells. And then right below that, you get into this really bloody stuff in your fingers. As I showed you before, it's just saturated with blood. And so once I get in there, I know where the veins and arteries are. There's no problem to get the blood out of there. And I'll show you with this in a microscope. Very simple. Everybody's doing it now. And I've shown everybody how to do the catalase test. It's very simple. Now remember I showed you the fingerprints. Here's where that came from. This right here is a finger tip. Now just take a second, slow down. Easy. This is obviously the back up here. Now this, I believe, is a regular finger tip from one of your regular fingers, because the bone appears to be in the center. Now I showed you this one here. The bone is way off to the side and there's a big chunk here. And if you take your own thumb and hold it here, you'll see it goes straight up this side and there's a big lump on that side. This, I think, is just from one of your regular fingers. Now, you see the fingernail, just like yours. There's no difference. Comes around. It's a little washed out here, but it comes up here. You see it? And it comes right around. That's the fingernail. All right. This piece I smashed off. And I have it here, but I can show it to you. Well, maybe we'll look at it. I don't know. This little circle here. Again, take your time. Don't rush with looking at things. You have to see the details or you have seen nothing. Why would you have this little round circle here? And why would you have these two little things going here? Well, the story is this little thing here is a pad that goes in between the bones. Because this is a bone, and then you have the next bone, and they have to rock along each other. This is what does the rocking. And this keeps this like a rubber pad in between them. Now, you got your vein and artery coming up through here. And this piece here was just like basically glued on there. It snapped right off. And again, I showed it here. Here it is right here. Right there. It's maybe this thick. but it's identical to what we're looking at. And, you know, it was said the DNA in this was exceptionally, excellent quality. Yes, excellent quality. And the lung was excellent quality. This didn't have as good a quality because it's been very, very highly transitioned. Okay, these weren't as transitioned. The lung was just like it came out of somebody's body. You could almost transplant the damn thing. Look at that. It's got all its pleura. Everything is just... And if all I have to do is put water on here and scratch it up a little bit, just the blood comes off. Just blood runs right out. That's just solid blood. And the red blood doesn't harden up. The black blood turns hard. It turns into what they call magnetite, the black blood. The hematite is the red blood, and that's what they make steel from primarily. The red blood is very easy to work with. It's soft, and there's Fe2O2 and Fe2O3. Basically, ferrous oxides. One of them is 2 oxygens, and one of them is 3 oxygens. It's just like in your body too. And the O3 is the one you want to use. Okay, these are the DNA tests, and these were very, very, very serious tests. This is from the 36-inch tip, that big long fingertip, 3 feet long. This is from the lung. These are the different CTAG sequences obtained using certain different primers. This is from the 36-inch tip using other different primers. And this is what they came up with. They were Homo sapien mitochondrial, cytochrome B, and D loop region. Both of them, 36-inch and the lung. And also was this fingertip as well, but it wasn't as, these were excellent quality. You see here? They were submitted, these PCR products were submitted to Eaton Biosciences in New Jersey for DNA sequencing. The primary repairs, were used to generate PCR products, also used to DNA sequence. Excellent quality DNA sequence was obtained from the 36-inch tip and from the lung sample. So we got the big giant and from the lung sample. Excellent quality. I mean, it was drilled right into the red blood. So it was, and he said it was dense, and it's virtually no way in the world it was contaminated. And they did negative tests on all of these. And these are the different things. I don't know what this stuff is. Positive for this and that, and negative. All the negative controls were negative, so there was no contamination. This is just, it's very well detailed what they did in the test, and it took, I don't know, 2-3 months. And this is what it was. And I told the guy that did the test, he was assaulted for doing the test. They were going after everybody. And if you're in business, or you're an academic, or you're trying to get ahead in that realm, this was probably a bad decision for him, because he got attacked, and everybody did. But he was an honorable guy, one of the most honorable that I have met in academia, and I don't think he really wants to be involved in this anymore either, because I can't find anybody that will do the DNA tests anymore. Now it was an expensive test. This was not cheap, and he said he will stand behind the results just as I showed you. And now this goes back to 2015. And but you have to understand, I personally was the one that sent in the samples. I didn't send in like this whole fingertip. I extracted blood, and I'll show you where the blood is, and we'll do catalase tests, and you'll see if the catalase makes the hydrogen peroxide bubble up, that means there was blood there, and there was a membrane there, and and I can show you exactly how to see this, and I've shown it over and over and over, and people are doing it now. I think they're having a lot of fun because they're finding all these things, and they're wondering, am I really finding what I'm seeing? And how do you determine that? Well, there is ways, and chemistry is one, and all it takes is hydrogen peroxide. Stuff right here. You just take hydrogen peroxide, and I'll show you in a minute. And you just put it on where you suspect there's an artery, and you'll see it foam. And everything else will stop foaming, because everything gets contaminated, and it'll foam up a little bit, but it'll stop pretty quick because it's done. All the oxygen's out. But when you get into blood, it just never goes away. And when you get into a membrane, it never ever goes away. It's just foamed like fuzz. Very interesting to do this, and it should excite the heck out of kids. Anyway, let's keep going. All right, you see this? We're talking about the fascia. Well, they knew there was fascia there, but they didn't think anything about it. They just thought it was like a little thin film that covered stuff. They really couldn't see it. They couldn't see it. I could see it so perfectly in my mud fossils. It's just like 6 feet thick. As a matter of fact, let me show you that first. But this is the layer we're going to be talking about. Let me just show you how big it gets in these gigantic creatures. All right, so don't forget, now this is my claim that I discovered this interstitium layer in about 2012, let's go with that. And I realized that this was something going on here because I could see it in all my gigantic mud fossils. They were all over the world, and not just mine, but I could see it everywhere. And because I wasn't working with floppy tissue, what they had getting back for these autopsies is just a flat tissue. That's why they said they could never see it. They always thought it was a flat piece of tissue, and it's not. It's a very, very complicated web, and it has this fluid-filled highway. So that's what we've been looking at here. But here's the sizes we're dealing with. Don't forget, this is meature interstitium, a newfound organ. This covers your entire body, every single thing. And again, I showed you before, they just couldn't see it. They never even knew it was there. And this is back 2018. Now, that highway is there. Now, what's below that? There's all these little balls. You see them there? And you got the fluid-filled highway is the white part, and below that lives your immune system, basically your leukocytes and your enzymes and the beneficial bacteria and so forth. Now, because this coats every organ in your body, that's your guts and everything, where you absorb food and you create enzymes and you create, different hormones and everything, even your nervous signals and all that. That's why people have all kinds of things going on with them, autism and all that. A lot of that is caused by not having the right bacteria, which means you don't get the right enzyme, because the only way you get the enzyme is because the bacteria is there. If your bacteria is dead, the enzyme's not going to be there. The enzyme's not there, you're not going to get the particular coating that you need. If you don't have the coating you need, you get invaded. If you get invaded, it causes cancer in some cases, and when it's in a nervous condition where the membrane around all the little nerve fibers, every single nerve fiber has one, and if that membrane is not perfect, who knows what's going to happen. And that's why all kinds of nervous disorders can be very, very difficult to diagnose. But I would always look for bacteria first. I would check with the bacteria in people to see how much of this overlaps from fossils to history to chemistry to biology to health. There's nothing that is untouched by this research, nothing. So check this out. It's a bilipid layer. There's a top and a bottom layer, and in between is that fluid-filled highway. Well, guess what? Here it is in gigantic creatures. They were that big. This is the bottom membrane. There's 2 layers, and I'll show you. Well, I've gone over that so many times. Yeah, biology's biology. You might as well see it. You see this way down here? That's nothing more than this, but there's a top layer. There's a superficial layer. I forget what they call them. There's 2 layers anyway. They have 2 different names. One of them is a thicker layer than the other. This one's the thin layer. This is the thick layer, I believe. All of these here are these ion channels. You see that? What an ion channel is, it means that the membrane says you can come down into me to feed me or to do something good for me. But if you're bad, I will keep you out. And it's all based on your polarity, your atomic signature to me. An ion channel looks for the different ions. Now, this little part right here is a little squiggly jobber. I don't know what it does, but I can show you anatomically what it is, and here it is side by side. Hold on a second. All right, sorry about that interruption, but that's that little squiggly thing right there. You see that? And these are the little channels that allow things in and out. And it's astonishingly large, but they're everywhere. It's not just here. It's not just in Oregon where Tyson is. It's in the United Kingdom over here. Look, here's right there. That's fascia. That's the stuff we're talking about. That's the little squiggly stuff. And here it is right there. You see that wall? That's the skin. That's the skin up there, mucosa skin. It's the covering, the outside layer. And then you get into the fluid-filled highway, which is all in this area, this fascia area. But there's a real fluid-filled highway. As a matter of fact, I got a better shot. But this is how big it gets. That's Hunstanton Beach or Cliffs or something in the United Kingdom. That's the outer layer that coats everything. This is that squishy little layer which has all those little black balls and the little straps. And I believe this might be the fluid-filled highway. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. But all these balls are the things that hold the tissue together. And as it's eroded from getting worn away, it turns into mud. Mud is nothing more than eroded flesh. That's all it is. Now, what's growing on these balls is some kind of biology, and I don't know what kind of creatures they are, but they're eating the biology of that ball, because it's still got tons of red blood in it. All kinds of little creatures, of little plant life, loves red blood. And you want to see how I can tell you that? You see all these balls? Well, guess what? If they were up in freshwater area, this is what would happen to them. This is it. Still can't explain these babies. These are all eating the flesh that still surrounds the balls. Look at them. Look at them. They're all up here. Everywhere. These creatures were just absolutely stunningly gigantic. And as they died and everything else eroded away, what was left was the balls. The other stuff is real erosive. And watery stuff would just erode it right out of there. But this is somewhere up in the Arctic or somewhere where it didn't have, they didn't get dried out enough to where the blood was gone. It's starting to thaw out. So now they're being exposed, and now the plant life is saying, "Woo, look at that blood, baby. Blood. Let's go eat." And that's what it will do. Now check this out. I just showed you all those balls, and the little ones all covered with moss. Well, here's ones in the desert that didn't get mossed up. These are the Moki marble. Same thing. It was just some skin. Same as that. No difference whatsoever, except these are a little smaller and not in the moist. And this is what they look like in the human body. Look at that. And the same thing you just saw. They're all over the ground. And this is what they look like. That's an artist's rendition, obviously. But they're showing these black balls hold these brown springs. The brown springs open up these fluid-filled bags. The fluid-filled bags can compress and slide and do this. So you can pull and do this and that and all your skin. But these brown springs will open the bag back up again after it stops being pulled. They'll lay flat, they'll go this way, they'll go this way, go that way, and everything's designed to move within each other, but it's all designed to come back to where it was originally anchored. Simple as that. See, here it is right here. No one takes these historical accounts seriously. About giants, and they have no idea how big the giants were. I just showed you how big they are. These are just little puppies. That's nothing. And they were historically documented everywhere. This was wherever this is, but showing a gigantum. And even in the Egyptians. Look at the size of the guy's foot. Yeah, that's a pharaoh. He's getting his foot washed. Okay, this goes back to 2015. My final paper in 2015 was about the mud fossils, and I had the DNA reports and the CAT scans. All this stuff was done then. And of course, I met with so much opposition, it really basically destroyed me and caused a lot of havoc in my life. So I wrote this book about this, Mudfossils and Velikovsky and Minds in Collision. He wrote Worlds in Collision. And I took a lot of my research from his research, going around the world, documenting all of these histories exactly like all of these ancient explorers did. Only he went in the 20th century, basically, and he went out and to all of these different places, wherever they had carvings and etchings and scrolls and tablets and, you know, monuments and libraries, and he went to everywhere, all the museums, and he collected all the information that every culture on the face of the planet had the same story: giants, dragons, a great catastrophe, flood. And then not that long ago, it was only 3,500 years ago. And they all had the same story. It wasn't just one here, one there. And it was written down in many places, including the Bible. And this was freaked out academia, and they forced him to take his book off the bookshelves. Worlds in Collision, it was called, Immanuel Velikovsky. And he was on a bestseller list 11 weeks in a row, and they still forced the publisher to pull it off the bookshelves because they were so upset that people were understanding our ancient past. And you can read it still. And they have Velikovsky archives where you can go back and read through all this stuff. But I wrote the book on that. And it was another problem we had was with this head. You see the head right here? That head was on TV. Here it is right here. And this was found by Arlie Caudle down in Kentucky, in a riverbank, in the mud. And they showed it on History Channel. Scott Walter, who was supposed to be a geologist and, you know, archaeologist, all that, he looked at it, and it was less than 1 minute. He said, nope, absolutely 100% certain. It's carved, forget about it, it's nothing, this is just iron staining and so forth. Well, let me show you something about this head. In less than 1 minute, it's very easy to dismiss something. But when you look at something carefully, you see here, let me home in on this. You see that side of his nose? That's why it's got iron staining. There's blood. His nose is splayed out because somebody stepped on it or smacked him there. It's still got the cartilage. You can see all the cartilage underneath where the flesh had worked its way off. This, it looks like somebody smacked him with a war club or something, a big round. It looks to me like somebody whacked him. Now, this is nothing more than blood. Red and black is blood. Black is what they call bone black. Inside your bones, in the marrow of the bone, it's very dense and it comes out black. They call it bone black. As a matter of fact, I have a fingertip. I don't want to bother to show it to you, but it has the distal phalanges pattern leached out as a black stain. Well, what the hell? Hold on a second. Here it is. Now, this was highly eroded, but if you can see, and you may not be able to see it, that black pattern right there. If you had a doctor and he knows what a distal phalanges looks like, that's it right there. That's the bone that's in there. And of course, there's the vein and the artery. And here's the vein, there's the artery side and the same on the end. Those three blow out because there's no restrictions to them. The vein side, they don't blow out. They just cap off. You see that? It's just capped off. Same thing here, because they have valves in them. And the same thing on the end. But the arteries, a totally different story. They just blow right out because there's no restrictions to them. Veins have valves, so they can't go backwards. And what it does is it pinches off little segments. I don't know if you can see that bone black there. But you'd have to have an anatomist to understand what a distal phalanges looks like. I can see it, but I know what it's supposed to look like, so maybe you can, maybe you can't. Anyway, and that came from this same hand. That came from this hand. There was a whole batch of places where there was all different. I can see that pattern right there now. There was totally different erosion on one side versus the other. One side was completely eroded like this, and I have knuckles and all stuff from that. And then the other side was almost perfect, like this here. It was just virtually perfect. The fingernail's gone, but it's not much else. And then of course you saw the palm. But now, this is from Jim Burchell. We had this actually CAT scan down at the University of Texas, Austin. And that was the worst experience of my life. I'm going to tell you that right now. And the only reason we went there was because Yale said they couldn't accept a CAT scan from anybody but them. Or that's what I said, where do you get your CAT scans done? Because I was showing all this stuff to Yale in 2015, 2014, 2013. And so finally I said, well, I'll just get all this stuff done myself. I said, what will you accept? Well, we can't accept anything. We'd have to have DNA tests. We'd have to have CAT scans. We'd have to have this. I said, well, all right, good. I get the DNA test done from a certified lab, which it was, Helix Biolabs. And I said, what about the CAT scan? He said, well, we use University of Texas, Austin. I said, all right. And that ended up absolute nightmare. I mean, you don't even have a clue. So... And Scott Walters dismissed this within, it was less than 1 minute. You can't miss this. I mean, how could you possibly miss? And you know, the other thing was, I got a hold of the state police, and I said, get me your forensic guy. I want to show him this head. He said the same thing. Oh, no, that's just carved. And then, so I got it back to him. I said, do you know about blood? Do you know what blood's made out of? And he put me on a spam list. I'm not kidding you. The academic spam list instantly. He was from Quinnipiac College. And the same time frame, this goes back to 2014, 2015, whoever it was working for the state police, because I got hold of him. I said, I want us to have somebody certified as one way or the other. And shut off just like that. And, but nobody could accept it. I'm not holding anybody to account, but well, I should be. This is very difficult because nobody can adjust their minds to accept this if they've been highly trained and really brainwashed against this stuff. And it's just it's a gut reaction. The same thing happened to Yale. It was a gut reaction. No. And even after I had everything done, all they said was those were just rocks. And now, though, they took credit for this work. They say it's exceptionally preserved. Right here. Exceptional preservation, soft-bodied creatures. It's exactly, it's almost word for word. This is a year later from the paper I wrote. So this is what we're up against. And hopefully these people that did the Patagonian giants here, the universe inside you, hopefully they might even contact me back. I don't know. I hope for that, but I'm not, expecting. I haven't ever had anybody contact me back yet. Now it's whether I'm just too far out of the box, or people just don't believe it. I mean, look at this. Look at this, Myron Cook. This is nothing more than dragon scales. And he goes on and on and on, and he's oh yeah, we know how this is all. He comes up with all kinds of crazy things. And again, he won't talk because he's just too smart to talk to somebody like me. So hopefully we got to get out of this. We got to get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do. Because it's just nonsense. We're living in a world of absolute nonsense right now. We have no idea what our ancient past is. And I'm going to tell you right now, the things they wrote, I'm taking as pretty well, they look pretty accurate to me, what the ancient Greeks wrote. And if that's true, there's some afterlife, and it can be good and it can be bad. And there's rules. And there's dues to be paid. And there's people to follow and people not to follow. And like I said, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but it says in the Bible somewhere, it says that there will be false teachers among you, and their destruction does not sleep. false teachers among you, and their destruction does not sleep. I haven't found any that I would consider to be honest at this point, that are willing to even discuss this, because they know the implications if they do. And I've been told that. One told me, what do you want to do, ruin my life? Another one told me, I forget how she put it, and she's an administrator. I said, you're delusional if you can't see this. You're just being delusional. She said, no, I remember now. She says, you're the one that's delusional. We were just wrong. I said, explain that to me. And she left. This is a really, really serious invasion into somebody's mental stability. I'm telling you right now, it is. When you say something like this, right here, just eroded out of something like this, right here, people just freak out. And they say, it's impossible, it can't happen. I said, well, it's there. If it's there, it's there. It's up to you to make out what you will of it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at this for today. I think I've shown you enough. I think we've seen pretty much everything I wanted to show. And again, I have all this stuff. It's available to be tested and looked at by people that have an interest, and the interest is very, very sparse. And the people that are interested have no really reach, let's call it that way. Because I need somebody with reach. I have no reach. I have 190,000, 191,000 people on my channel now, but I almost get no hits because it's being suppressed. There's no question about that. In my mind, maybe I'm just paranoid, but I don't think so. Look at that. That's about 6 feet thick or more of a membrane. And in us, like they said, they can't even see them. That's why I was so far ahead on this, because I could see everything. I could see it all as it was preserved, as it was living, but it's just be locked in time. All right, it's all locked in time. All right, thank you. I love you all. Just stay tuned. We're going to get this to be known by the average individual that this is not silly. It's not something you should be laughing at and calling names to people like me. And look at this here. Look, this is the membrane. All the way up to there is where the skin was. Then way up here. It's hundreds of feet. Anyway, I love you all. Just start talking. If you want to live in a fantasy world, that's up to you. But I don't think, well, I know I don't. And I know God doesn't want that. He says, I have no greater joy than to see my children walk in truth. And right now, there is not, you're just walking in soup, a soup of lies. Basically, I mean, at this point, there should have been somebody should have paid attention to this. And the only thing I can take away from this is that it is a deliberate avoidance of truth. Do you call that a lie? I don't know. You think about it, however it is. They want to secure their position in society. And I understand that, but to be able to open up your mind and say, well, all right, let's just talk about this. Yeah. People are going to attack you, absolutely. But when you come up with this kind of evidence, nobody can attack you. You can't be hurt. You are armor-plated. You are bulletproof. There is no power on earth that can deny this. None. Zero. So where do you put the people that are supposed to be doing this kind of research? I put them in a very unfavorable light. All right? Vayos con Dios, I love you all. Arrivederci. All right? Thank you so much. Okay. Remember I showed you I broke a little piece of that fingertip off so I could get down to where the bone was. This is where that bone is. Now, I believe this is still some calcium bone in here. It hasn't completely transitioned. Now, there's a little blood vessel that's we can do a catalase test on this and see about But the whole thing should bubble up pretty good. But that should really bubble up. Now, let me home in on this a little better here. All right, you can see the red blood coming out of it. I think this is still some bony parts left to it, and it's not completely transitioned. So let's get a little catalase on there, and we'll see what happens. All right, we're going to have to get a lot closer to it, but I'm going to put a little on here, and it may just foam up like crazy. So, and I say catalase. Catalase is the enzyme that's inside blood and every other biology. It gets rid of extra oxygen. We're going to put hydrogen peroxide on here, which is H2O2. It has an extra oxygen, and see what happens. Okay, here we go. Now we should see it foam up pretty good wherever there's a lot of blood. And there's a lot, you can see it foaming everywhere. Look at it, but that's where we're really going to see it bubble out of. You see it? All this other stuff, it'll still bubble up, but not like this. And we should see a membrane on that too. The membrane is going to be real fuzzy, normally. Let's come down and take a real close shot of this. You see all that bubbling? That's all biology. Now, I'd like to find a membrane. There's so much biology here that everything is going to foam up, because this was just exactly where the thing attached. But I believe this is where that artery is right there. This is glare from the lights. Yeah, I believe that's where the artery is. You see it getting real foamy here? Where you see foam, you see it starting to bubble, big bubbles come out of there now. It's starting to work its way down inside. And this is some kind of a membrane that fed something out to here, apparently, to feed blood out here somewhere. But that thing's going to start bubbling up pretty good now. It's starting to saturate down inside. And the rest of them are sort of dying off a little bit. But that's a membrane, and that's the artery. I put a little more on there. All right, everybody will start to bubble up again pretty good, but this is where we're keeping our eye on right there. This is just nothing but biology. The whole thing is just nothing but biology. So this is what you're going to expect to see. Sometimes when the stuff really works its way down in, they just blow up. In the lungs and stuff, it's just unbelievable. Because the red blood preserves pretty well. You see the bubbles coming up now? This is where it's starting to invade down inside into the blood that's way down in there. And you'll start getting some pretty good bubbles out of there. And again, this thing's been sitting around for I don't know how many years. It's quite many years. I believe this was from the Great Flood, and I'm almost 100% sure of that. See it all foaming up now? It's starting to get deeper and deeper in there. This is some kind of a membrane thing coming out where it drained out here or something. This is like the outside layer of a tube or something. And that is where the artery went inside there. And it's digging its way down in there, bubbling up like crazy. But the whole thing is bubbled. Usually this will stop. The only reason it's not stopping is because this is where I took the piece right off. So I'm basically in between a layer of body, a body part, like cutting right across a piece of meat. You know, bone in, of course. You see it? You see where the cursor is right there? That's where the blood is coming, you know, that's where there's blood coming out of there. And we should see some pretty good bubbles. I could put another blast on there and take, but, you know, we're running a little pretty late as it is here. All right, see that? This is the lung. And this is down where it's just that red bloody flap is. I call it a spur lock. Now I might be able to scratch this up and just, it'll just turn right into like blood. Right now it's just basically like mud. Whoops. You see this? There it is right there. It's just nothing but turns right into blood. See that? Of course, it'll dry up in a minute or two. Blood dries up quick, and it rehydrates quick. You see it? Look at it. See it? Look. Turns right back into blood. That's just nothing more than blood. It's flowing blood right now. That's how quick it rehydrates. Now watch, it'll dry up almost just as fast. This stuff is fascinating to me. Maybe I'm simple-minded, I don't know, but I like it. You see it? Look at it. It's just nothing more than blood. All right, so anyway, that's going to call it a quiz for today. We're just going to keep going. I got so much more to look at. It boggles my mind every day I get up and I think, phew. But you know, I wish we could get somewhere with this and get this into mainstream. It's undeniable. It's so undeniable. It's undeniable. It's so undeniable. If that makes any sense, probably not. Anyway, like they said right here, just about how we got started. We'd love to hear your perspectives and stories. Well, you just got them both. All right, and I'd love to talk to those guys. What a fabulous presentation this was. All right, I love you all. Happy New Year. All right, my friends, we're going to get right to it. We've been talking about giants for many years now. They are now starting to take consideration of this. Now listen to what they have to say. This is Universe Inside You. Fabulous presentation. They got 1.8 million subscribers. Now I left a comment up here because I came right up here when there was just no comments at all hardly. And if you could come up here and leave a comment saying please, because I want to interact with these people. Universe Inside You, absolutely fabulous presentation. But I want you to hear what they have to say because this is Fair Use Act. We're trying to get people educated and make a presentation about what we can present as evidence. Now listen to what they have to say here. And again, absolutely phenomenally done. Here goes.
Or Patagonia were unlike anything the Europeans had encountered before. The crew observed their physical characteristics, behaviors, and way of life, noting their extraordinary height and strength. This is perhaps one of the most incredible encounters in the age of exploration. Yet to this day, no one talks about this, and no one takes this historical account seriously. Let's consider the role of a chronicler and the credibility of his accounts during the
Let me tell you something. It was credible, and my stuff is credible as well, and nobody talks about it because they are afraid to speak about it. It makes you look like you're crazy. And that's why people just don't want to talk about it, because it's just over the top, and other people will treat you as you're crazy. Trust me, I know this.